Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 42 of Jordan and Drew, the Sports Crew. The journey to episode 50 continues as here we are today. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. This is our Christmas episode. We mentioned it last week, but this one we're going to keep it nice and short. You'll know by now how long the episode is, but we're not going to talk about a whole lot. We're not going to get through everything. We're just going to talk about the main things as hopefully you all enjoy your Christmas and enjoyed your Christmas, I guess I should say. And Drew, we had a lot of content last week. My name is Jordon Lawrenz, joined with the one and only Drew Skyberg. Drew, tell the people what we had, including our most listened to episode ever.
It was a great week last week for the Sports Crew. Don't get me wrong. And yeah, I guess first start. Happy holidays, everyone. Merry Christmas and holiday episode. So woo. Okay. But just going over it was a great week in the Sports Crew, as I said. Starting, Monday, we had episode 41. And then we had Jordon Lawrenz with this fantasy football recap for our podcast league. And it was a great episode. Quick little 15-minute, very snackable, as they say. So it was certainly one, if you have not listened to it yet, still listen to it. It's still some great stuff. And then going into it, we had that was Wednesday. But then we had Thursday. We had the most listened to episode in the history of the sports crew
ever.
Ever. With Robert Shimmick. It was actually an EWC midseason. It was a recap. And it did very well. It was a great episode. Please go listen to it. It was 70 minutes, but we talk everything EWC for boys basketball, and it was, I think, one of the greatest episodes we've done on here. Talking probably high school basketball. So it was good, and we got a lot of good feedback from other coaches in the area and a lot of other players. So that was really exciting to see. That motivates us. It really does. And then just looking through, and then we rounded out the week. We did a Journey to a Million episode 2. When Jordan, I just want to mention something. Got to plug the Sleeper League squad. If you guys want to join Zach, Jared, and myself on our Journey to a Million, please DM us for the link to our squad. We will be more than happy to give you guys it. And they've been giving out free money. They give out a free $10, Jordan, just for Christmas. Do you think Prize Picks does that? They don't.
No.
Sleeper is the best. And that is why, the list goes on for reasons why they're the best. But yeah, certainly a big week in the sports crew. And we got more stuff coming your way this week.
Plenty more. And that was actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because that's going to be our shout out of the week, was going to be to Sleeper. Sleeper, sponsor us. We can't thank you enough for that $10 on Christmas that led to a few Christmas Day NBA and NFL bets. And even though Aaron Rodgers hit the under and Middleton hit the under, we'll talk about it. But Journey to a Million episode 2 on Christmas Eve it was, and episode 3 on New Year's Eve. So guys, even though they're airing on these Fridays, you can listen to them whenever. Don't let that affect you. If you listen to it days later, who cares? You're still getting the fun experience. Good 45-minute episodes with those 3. And I can't wait for episode 3 where you guys talk about your Christmas Day bets and just how poorly everything has been going so far. And NFL bets, I got a few parlays going on Sunday, and fingers crossed they all work out. I got a few $5 ones. One of them already failed. So that's all we can really talk about right now. We'll get into more of that later. But it is now time for the stats of the week, a lot of them. And it starts with Sunday Night Football. So we're going back, right? This was last week when Tom Brady got shut out 9-0 to the Saints, I think it was. It was just a terrible Sunday Night Football game. That was the first time Tom Brady got shut out since week 15 of 2006. Shout out to the Pat McAfee show for showing me this one. Brady was 29 years old. And listen to this. No current active defensive player had yet entered the NFL. So 15 years ago, none of the current defensive players were playing, and Drew Brees was in his first season with the Saints at the time Brady got shut out the last time in 2006. Russell Westbrook, 400 consecutive games with a turnover. That's a great stat to have. I don't know if he's just purposely doing it now to continue that, but hey, whatever you want to do, right? Aaron Rodgers, the MVP. Patrick Mahomes has 15 interceptions in his last 645 pass attempts. Josh Allen has 15 in his last 714. Brady has 15 in his last 780. Russ has 15 in his last 789. Aaron Rodgers has 15 in his last 2,156 pass attempts. Drew, did you see the graphic they put up on Christmas of Aaron Rodgers' touchdown to interception ratio compared to Brett Favre, it wasn't even close.
It wasn't, and I was, as we know, like they always call Favre more of a gunslinger. I mean, he'll throw the rock wherever, and I mean, sometimes, I mean, that'll get you more interceptions, but we see Rodgers. He's so careful. He's so I don't know, just poised with the ball in his hands, and he makes always a great decision. I mean, that's the one beauty of having Rodgers under center. Really is.
Him and Brett Favre, completely different quarterbacks. Cooper Kupp. I don't know. I think this is through ESPN's fantasy, but it said he had 370.1 PPR points this season, which was 23.7 more than any other wide receiver in history through 14 games. So Cooper Kupp, I have him in my money league. He has been doing so well for me as I look to try, and fingers crossed, hopefully I'm in the championship game by now. Hopefully I came out with a win, but we've got some game time decisions. Connor was out last night. Swift is still questionable for today, so it's coming down to the wire. I don't have Lamar. I got to start Kirk Cousins. My season's up in the air at this point. I don't want to finish fourth after my 7-0 start. At 16-16, the Lakers are a loss away from becoming just the third team with LeBron James to be under 500 through 33 games. And this happened now, correct? The Lakers lost on Christmas?
They did lose on Christmas. They are 16-18, actually. They lost back-to-back games.
Oh, so boy.
They're 2 games under, 5-game losing streak right now.
This hasn't happened since the 2007-2008 season. So that just goes to show, yeah.
That's a tough Cavs team, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I was going to say too, like the Lakers, they're a super team, right? They've got all these guys. They're certainly not meshing together.
Yeah, AD's out right now. If you want to point some fingers, and then Westbrook really doesn't fit in the system. He really doesn't. I was going through it, looking how, like, watching some of them play. It doesn't look right there. I think that was a terrible acquisition. I think that's a guy you try to trade. Like, I'll be honest, and I might be crazy, and I don't know how that'll happen because I know AD has that no trade clause. Can't really trade him. You're not going to move LeBron James, so that's Russell Westbrook. So you got to move him. So I don't know where he's going to go though.
Hey, they got my boy Isaiah Thomas though, right? They signed him to a 10-day deal.
Yep, and ESPN then proceeded to post, or not ESPN, but some social media was like, oh, look, they're 0-5 with IT now or something. So they're blaming him.
Come on. Not fair at all. What does he play, like 10 minutes a game, if that?
Yeah, it was a dumb stat.
Unreal. Anyways, we got 3 more things. The longest active winning streak in NCAA basketball goes to the Hope College girls. 55 games in a row that they have won. So that's pretty wild. And speaking of, no, it's not the Minnesota Wild. It's just a wild stat about the Packers' highest winning percentage at home since 2019. This has gone up now since then. But the Packers were at a 90.9% winning percentage at home. Obviously, like I said, they just went up since they beat the Browns. The Ravens at 73.9%, Steelers 72.9%, and Chiefs at 70.8%. But it's really not even close with the Packers at number 1. And speaking of this Vikings team, they would be 14-0 if they had not given up any points in the final 2 minutes of either half in every game. So the Vikings, they're truly one of the most talented, bad teams, I guess, we have seen. They might have Adam Thielen back yesterday as they play the Rams, I believe. But, I mean, it's just poor Vikings, right? They already beat the Packers once. They're going to look to do it twice. Anything else, or are we moving on?
Let's move on.
On this day, December 27th, 2021, this is our final on this day in 2021. So we will be moving to January 3rd next week. It'll be our New Year's special. It might be a little longer, but we'll have to see. Depends on how busy we are, what we're out doing, and we'll figure it out by then. But we still have a lot of stuff coming your way. 3-episode week, but let's move on. December 27th, on this day in 1897, the Stanley Cup is played at the Victoria Rink in Montreal as the Montreal Victorias beat the Ottawa Capitals 15-2. That's an absolute wallop. So I had a question on this next one. On this day, 1942, the 5th NFL All-Star game in Philadelphia, the NFL All-Stars beat the Washington Redskins 17-14. Did they used to do it where the All-Stars would play one team? I'm confused.
I have no idea. That is interesting to me. I didn't even know they did an All-Star game. I thought they started the Pro Bowl like a little bit ago, and that was kind of like the first All-Star game for the NFL. So not sure.
Yeah, I think they just modified it maybe and called it the Pro Bowl now instead of the All-Star game, but I don't know. I was very confused when I saw this. It's kind of a unique concept, actually, that All-Stars are playing one team. Like, what if the Redskins won the Super Bowl the year before, and then that means they play against All-Stars? Like, I think that would be a cool concept, but I don't really know. So that's all we got for that one. Bill Sharman of Boston ends a free throw streak of 55 games. That was on this day in 1956. So there's that for you. And how about this? The 28th Heisman Trophy Award was given out in 1962 to Terry Baker of Oregon State, and he was a quarterback, and the 28th Heisman in 1962. So, I mean, we're going way back there. Let's go to the first ever Fiesta Bowl on this day in 1971. Arizona State beats Florida State 45-38. A nice high-scoring Fiesta Bowl. We'll be talking about our bowl games coming up. This is totally random, but I found it very funny that it was in here. On this day in 1973, the LA Dodgers announced the night games will start at 7:30 instead of 8. I have no idea why that's in here, but I don't know if they still do that to this day, but it's just very interesting that they threw it in here. So that's what we got there. At a little hockey real quick to transition. On this day in 1981, the Edmonton Oilers' Wayne Gretzky becomes the fastest NHLer to 100 points. He did it in just 38 games, so that was a huge thing for Mr. Gretzky. On this day in 1991, the Bengals hired Dave Shula as the youngest NFL coach, 32 years old. And Drew, I think I wanted to end on this because it seems like young coaches are a thing of the future. Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, I mean, these guys are young, and it's not like you have to be 60, 70 years old anymore to lead an NFL franchise.
Yeah, these new guys who are more analytic driven, like they look at the analytics. I think that's a growing commodity. It's a growing thing these days. Even managers in baseball. Let's throw that out there too. There's some like Craig Counsell, certainly a pioneer of like the younger manager guys like Gabe Kapler too. But just like I think in any sport, I mean, we see the young coach. It's growing. It is growing, and I mean it's paying off for a lot of these teams, including the Packers, the Rams, Brewers.
Right. I mean, we can't complain at all. Like, if your teams are winning, who cares, right? As long as they're winning games, it really doesn't matter how old your coach, manager, whatever you want to say is. But I certainly think that's a good point as well, mentioning the baseball aspect. Didn't even think about that one. But yeah, that's what we got for on this day. So we're moving on, right? As I said, we're going to talk about our bowl game prediction challenge. 25 people, more bowl games in the book. And here we are, right? 16 games completed. Caden is still in last place at 2-14. He gave me a shout out for mentioning him, but he is, wow, he said he knows his stuff with college. So that is very interesting, but he is down there. 2-14. And the next closest is 6-10. So, I mean, it's pretty low bar right now. Drew, Devin first. Devin, our boy Devin, is 7-9. Drew,
Ooh.
you have moved down, tied for 15th at 8-8.
That's not bad.
The best.
It's 500.
Yes, but if I tell you first place is 11-5, it's a little bit of a separation there. I'm at 9-7, so I'm coming back a little bit, but 11-5 right now. Two people tied at 11-5. This is the big week, though, right? There is no bigger week than this one in college football. Badgers play Thursday, correct, on the 30th?
Yep.
And then the 31st is the New Year's Eve games, and then the 1st, obviously, is the New Year's games. So big bowl games coming up this week. We're not going to preview them. We already did that in our episode with Johnny Tim, a good half an hour episode we did a while ago. Go back and listen if you haven't already. And now, real quick, the NHL, they were supposed to resume games tonight. They had 14 games scheduled, but that has now been pushed back to Tuesday. So the NHL and the NHLPA agreed to begin their holiday break this past Wednesday, so almost a week ago at this point, due to the number of players and teams impacted by COVID-19. The original plan was to begin games on Monday, but now the NHL said they want to allow the league an adequate opportunity to analyze league-wide testing results and to assess clubs' readiness to play. The target date for resumption of gameplay will be pushed back an additional day. So I think it's a little bit concerning that they're only pushing it back one day, because I feel like this could just be a trend that continues, where they keep pushing it back. But as long as we have it back for January 1st, the New Year's Classic, Minnesota Wild, St. Louis Blues at Target Field, the baseball stadium. It's really all that matters at this time. They're doing now the same thing that the NHL or the NFL is doing, basically going back to daily testing. They're making teams mask inside their own facilities, even if you're vaccinated. So a lot of the same thing there. And speaking of the NFL, Christmas Day, another game where the Packers played down to the level of their opponent, and they absolutely survived. They beat the Browns by 2 points, thanks to a career-high 4 interception game from Baker Mayfield. And I can give the guy a lot of excuses if you want. He's hurt. He's banged up. He didn't get to practice at all. 2 of those interceptions should have been called for pass interference. I mean, as Packer fans, we're absolutely going to take it. Packers get the job done, win by 2. Cardinals lose again. Cardinals are now 10-5. So it's basically going to come down to us, the Buccaneers, and the Cowboys. The Cardinals play the Cowboys next week. So that's a big time game. But if we win out, we have the 1 seed locked, Drew. We beat the Browns 24-22 in a game. We capitalized off those interceptions, and when we didn't get interceptions, we didn't move the ball. In the second half, the offense was putrid.
Yeah, I think that really sums it up pretty well. It started off, great. We saw Aaron Rodgers break the record. He beat most passing touchdowns in Packers history. I believe 443 was the magic number to break that. He did that. And that started great. Lazard looked good. Adams looked great. Defense looked awesome. Baker Mayfield looked good. I mean, there's also 2 interceptions I want to point out that were dropped by the Packers too. I know.
Yes.
Some tough calls, but I still can't say Mayfield played well. He didn't.
He did not.
Yeah, I think Mayfield played bad. But
his receivers also didn't help him one bit at all. You've got one receiver falling on one. You got one who just gave up and didn't even go for the ball. So it's not all his fault, but a lot of it is, and he just did not play his best game at all. And when it came down to it, he should have just ran the ball, but Kevin Stefanski decided he has more faith in Baker, and it cost him at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the thing that's kind of alarming to me. We saw Baker Mayfield actually throw more times than Aaron Rodgers, and that doesn't really that wasn't really working. Some plays, you had Peoples-Jones on some good. He had him open on some plays, and he got the ball to him. He certainly had some good throws, but really Nick Chubb, Dearness Johnson, and those guys were the ones working. I'm really surprised with Stefanski how much they tried to pass against his defense. I thought they would have tried to run more, considering how successful it was working. Chubb averaging 7.4 yards a carry, but that was certainly one of the ugly things we saw in this game. Just the defense against the run. It looked like the Packers team last year or the year before. That's kind of what I was feeling. And then also just like the last drive, like on offense, the last few drives in the second half. They really stalled out. It really was not a great, the drives really weren't that great.
Adams had 2 drops.
Yeah,
on
that was what I was
going
to point out. Like Adams was phenomenal, except that last drive, I feel. And even the one thing that bothered me the most, Jordan, was that defensive Baker's second passing touchdown, where there's the confusion on that play.
They no huddled it.
No huddle. Nobody knew where that. One guy was wide. Oh my goodness! At the NFL level, we can't really see that. That can't be happening, and it happened. So that was not great, and the offense just seemed really conservative. I'd say at the end of the game, like in the second half, and some of just LaFleur's play calling. I don't know. I
didn't understand
like that reverse. That 10-yard loss on that. Whatever that was. I don't see. Whatever. That was certainly some not so good calls. And I know, I will be saying that if it worked, but like that was, I think in any kind of like, I try to run like an end around or whatever we want to call that. It just didn't seem the right time to run that play, basically. But
those and flea flickers never work in the NFL. I don't understand when teams are going to get this through their mind. Like maybe you'll get one for 5 yards on a reverse or something, but those double back pass plays and anytime they do a flea flicker, these never end up working. So I don't really know. But other than that, the Browns ran the ball explosively well. As we said, D had some huge runs. Nick Chubb was just running through this defense. I'm still very concerned by the run defense of this team, but they're getting the wins. Doesn't matter how close they are. They're making us worry every single time, but they come out on the winning end. And now these next 2 weeks, the Vikings and then the Lions. You'll be at that Lions game, and they get the Vikings at home this time. They don't lose at home. Matt LaFleur doesn't lose to the same team twice. So certainly it seems like winning out is going to happen. But other than that, do you have any other comments on the Packer-Browns game?
I don't think I do. It was a fun Christmas game. It was a lot closer than it should have been. If they would have lost this game, I think people have been slapping themselves, like just hitting themselves, because like this is a game you came in thinking you should have won, and it really felt like, they were in control. Like it felt like they were up a couple scores, to be honest. This
is how it always is. Like the Bears game on Sunday Night Football, where they had to end up coming back, and then it was still close near the end, but it felt like they were up big. The Ravens game was the same exact way. The
Yep.
Rams game was the same way. I mean, it feels like this team is always in control and up big, but by the end, for whatever reason, this defense starts slipping, and that can't happen because imagine we're up 2 scores in the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter, and then we end up not winning the game. That's just, I have some fears for this defense that started off so hot. And other than that, Colts, they end up beating the Cardinals. Huge win. JT, 108 yards. What was his over-under on Sleeper? Do you know? Was it 110?
So the line was moving around a lot. It depended when you locked it in. The highest it was at was 106.5. They lowered it to 102.5, and I think it went down to 101.5. So you would have hit it on all the lines that were set.
Yeah, I actually didn't go for that one because I had a little bit of concern at the time. I thought maybe the Cardinals would jump out to like a big lead and the Colts would have to throw a little more. Carson Wentz, super efficient, 18 of 28 for 225 and 2 touchdowns. But yeah, other than that, JT with his 108. Kyler Murray had a huge 57-yard run. Chase Edmonds was so explosive in this game. I mean, welcome back, Chase Edmonds. 16 carries for 56 yards, 8 receptions for 71 yards. So you want to talk about a player you want on your fantasy team right now, that is Chase Edmonds. Obviously, with James Conner out, he got more. But, I mean, when your running back and tight end have the most receptions in the game, that's interesting. Kyler had to throw the ball 43 times, 27 of 43 for 245. But I didn't really watch a whole lot of this game. I watched bits and pieces. But Colts beating the Cardinals, that's good for the Packers in the long run, so we can't complain.
It is, and being in Wisconsin, Wisconsin football, you get to see JT have a big game.
Yes.
That was always nice. And I mean,
it's always good, except when he does it against us, like he did last year when we lost in overtime because of the MVS fumble, and JT just had a huge game.
Exactly, but like overall, this year, I mean, he's had a lot of big games, so it's been great to be able to see a lot of those. Have him out in the podcast league. Still kind of upset about that, considering I have I believe the 4th or 5th most points scored in the league, and I'm not even in the playoffs.
Yes.
That's very upsetting. But
that's fantasy for you.
That is fantasy for me. So yeah, I don't know. Good. I mean, we got the win, but the result at the end,
right?
Yeah, not. Yeah.
No, it's going to come down to Aaron Rodgers and JT for the NFL MVP award, I'm pretty sure. And don't forget, in the pod league, the winner gets that hat. And stick around for the end of the episode. We're going to talk about the upcoming giveaways. You'll be seeing them all over social media. But let's talk high school real quick before we get to the NBA. The Big East Eastern Wisconsin Conference Challenge. This is going to be fun. Played at Random Lake High School, according to Wiz Sports, on Wednesday, 29th. Kiel and Manitowoc Lutheran are going to play. Then Random Lake and New Holstein are going to play. And then on the 30th, we got a few more games, including Manitowoc Lutheran against New Holstein and Random Lake against Kiel. So a nice little round robin style there. They're doing the same with a girls tournament on Wednesday, Thursday in TR. It's like TR, Roncalli, Lutheran, and Reedsville, I want to say. Something like that. But I was going to announce for that game, but those games when I'm not. So that's that. And we also have to say on Wednesday, Valders. They're playing at the Crest Center in Green Bay. They're, again, a part of the Shawano Sundrop Shootout. Say that 10 times fast. But there's going to be a combination of 14 varsity boys and girls basketball games on Carroll's Court in the Crest Center. So additionally, on Wednesday, there will be a JV event in the East and West gyms that host 6 boys games. Cost us $7 per day. Children 6 and under are free. So I was not sponsored to say that. I just figured I'd shout out the good old Crest Center as they announced on December 22nd the full details and full lineup for this event. Valders plays in Game 6 on Wednesday. Approximate start is 6:35. Obviously, with there being games back to back, these things could be moved back big time. You never know. And then the girls are going to end the day against Wrightstown at approximately 8:10. So, I mean, you never know. That game could start at like 10 o'clock if things are moving back late. But they're starting at 10:30, and then they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games before Valders gets to go on Wednesday. So, yeah, Drew, any comments on any of these high school things? I know we covered a good chunk of everything in that Robert Chimick episode. So we're not talking about the last week in high school. You got to listen to that one.
Yep, you bet. And yeah, we see Valders. They play against Wrightstown here at the Crest Center for the Shawano Sundrop Shootout. Boom,
yes,
got it. And yeah, so I've been to those games. It's always fun. The atmosphere is electric. So I would recommend going if you want to Wednesday night do something. Go to those games. It's a lot of fun. Even if you're not like a Valders fan, you can go to other games. There's a lot of usually big schools there. Schools that do very well in the tournament. So it's certainly always a lot of fun to go. And Yeah, I think the Valor's Wrightstown boys game is going to be a good game. Not sure about how the girls will fare because Wrightstown is usually a very, very successful girls program they have there. So I'm not sure how they're going to do against them. But I actually saw the Wrightstown head coaches at the Roncalli Valor's game last week. They were scouting out Valor's.
Oh boy.
So they were there. They made the drive. They went to the jet hangar because they wanted to see it, and they didn't see a good Valor's game.
Oh no, not at all.
They didn't see the full Valor's team either, so that'll be good because hopefully they'll have Mason Myers back for that game. So
I was going to ask if everyone will be back.
That's the goal.
Okay, so we'll see about that. And I guess I can lead right into the bet of the week, which I absolutely won last week. You thought my over/under of 17.5 was a little disrespectful, but I took the
it still
over.
was.
Okay, I'll give you that. It was
because of COVID issues, but I think whatever. You're right. You got it though. At
the end of the day, yep. Nothing we can do. I'm 1-0 now in the bets. Drew is 0-1. Our long bet is still going with the Jags. If they win over or under 1.5 games, it's looking like the under. They played the Jets yesterday, but with them losing last week, they have a tough schedule ahead of them. So I doubt we're going to get that one right. NBA on Christmas Day to round things out. Knicks beat the Hawks 101-87. Suns lost to the Warriors 116-107. Warriors 27-6. Suns 26-6. Arguably the best matchup on Christmas record-wise. Nets beat the Lakers 122-115, and then the Jazz beat the Mavs 120-116. I don't know if you want to talk about any of these games before we get to the Bucks. I don't know if you watched them or just have any comments on any of them.
I watched the game for the Bucks, a little bit of it. With the Hawks Knicks.
Yes.
We saw Kemba big triple-double on Christmas Day. Trae Young was out, so not really much for the Hawks. We did see, however, we saw Ncaa alumni from Ncaa High School in Wisconsin, Jalen Johnson. He was getting some good playing time on Christmas Day. The Hawks having people out, so that was cool to see. But other than that, I wasn't really able to catch some of the later games. Of course, I watched the Bucks because the Packer game, was on. Just didn't work out.
Yeah, it was nice that they had Bucks Packers back-to-back, basically. So Bucks 4-point win over the Celtics, 117-113. This was a nail-biter. I didn't watch it. I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch it. But Bucks end up getting the win on Christmas by 4 points thanks to a huge second half. They were down 35-22 in the first quarter. And then in the second quarter, they were pulling back into it a little bit, but it was still all Celtics, basically. Then outscoring the Celtics by 11 in the third quarter and 8 in the fourth quarter to win by 4, 117-113. Giannis, not a 36 point. He played 36 minutes. Where is it? Yeah, a 36-point game. I was looking at Chris Middleton, who played 36 minutes. 36-point game for Giannis. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton both with 17. Dante DiVincenzo, welcome back, sir. He only scored 3, but Bobby Portis had 16 points. It's just good to have Dante back. He played 16 minutes in this game. As for the Celtics, 25 points from Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Talk about your 1-2 combo. And then Robert Williams played 39 minutes in the game, puts up 11 points and 19 points for Marcus Smart as well. He certainly hit the over, which was a little concerning because we didn't know if he was going to play or not, but he ended up with 19 points. So, Drew, big comeback win for the Bucks on Christmas.
Exactly. And yeah, watching that game, start to finish, a lot of things I saw. We saw Dennis Schroeder being out with COVID. I believe health and safety protocols was his thing. So that was a big loss for them. And no Enes Kanter, and just going with those guys, and of course, no Al Horford too. So those were big losses right away for the Celtics team. And then just looking through it, their goal, you could tell right from the start, to beat the Bucks was outshoot the Bucks. And I don't know if that's really a game you want to play, but they tried to play that game. We saw Peyton Pritchard, guy who I really like out of Oregon, take a lot of threes, 4 for 8 from 3 finish, but he was making them. He had overall a good game. Robert Williams played great down low for the Celtics. Of course, Jaylen Brown, he played well. He actually got his tooth chipped during the game.
I saw that.
Yeah. And then Marcus Smart for his return. He played a lot better than I expected. Granted, he shot 6 for 14, made some sloppy plays with the ball, some turnovers, but overall,
he's a turnover guy. Yeah.
Overall, he played pretty well. For his role, for being thrown in that role. Got Jabari Parker too. Not really don't impress me, but they made a good chunk of threes. They made, I believe, let's go through 17 3-pointers. So that is
not bad.
That is gonna, and they lost the game making 17 3-pointers. So that just shows, you don't want to try to outshoot the Bucks. But wish we could have saw a guy like Sam Hauser play, our Marquette alumni, but we did not. Going to the Bucks now, talking about how they played. Yeah, it was really slow start for them. Even the first 2 quarters, they were down at half. They're down good 15-20. Most of the first half, and that was just how it was. And then they came roaring back. Giannis, like you mentioned, had a big second half, and that's kind of how they came back here. We saw Wesley Matthews make a big 3 down the stretch. Middleton made some free throws to close it out. So overall, I mean, it was a classic Christmas, coming back in the second half for the Bucks at home. Another guy, Drew Holiday, like you mentioned, 17, played well. Giannis was kind of the star of the show here. And DiVincenzo, he missed 2 layups, kind of like wide open, but
a little rusty.
Yeah. He played only 16 minutes, but he looked energetic. He looked great out there defensively. That classic DiVincenzo defensive effort, being that anchor, let's say, on the perimeter defensive end, but he played well.
I haven't got to see much of him at all because, like, the most I ever watched the Bucks was last year in the postseason. He didn't play at all, so like I never got to see this guy play a whole lot.
Yeah, one guy who's been struggling though, it seems, Grayson Allen. He's still shooting a good 41% clip from the 3-point line, but he's been struggling recently. I mean, even in this game, 26 minutes, 0 for 4 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3, 2 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. So we're gonna kind of see his role diminish now with everyone being back. I mean, talk about the COVID issues on the Bucks, and there were a lot of guys who had to step up. I mean, we kind of talked about some of them, like Javonte Smart, Sandro Mamukelashvili, and then also like Jordan Orr was a guy who stepped up big for this Bucks team. I mean, he had a 30-point game. I mean, he had a couple 20 plus point games. He was that guy who had a lot of. I mean, he was a big offensive presence for this team. And did you, by any chance, Jordan, did you see his ankle breaker against Houston?
Oh yes, I did. I absolutely saw that, and that one was around everywhere. My goodness.
Yeah, it was certainly something else. But overall, Christmas Day, we'll take how I explained it. I think I said both Wisconsin sports teams won on Christmas Day, but they should have been more comfortable than they were. It's kind of how I concluded this day. And I don't know, do you feel the same?
No, absolutely. I mean, we'll take wins, like we said in the Packer game. A win is a win. It doesn't matter, but you don't got to stress us out as much as you did. By the way, you won these games. So let's take a look ahead for this Bucks team. They have back-to-back games against the Magic. I mean, not back-to-back. They have a day off, but the 28th and the 30th, that rounds out their 2021 schedule. And then on the 1st, they play the Pelicans. So, Drew, it is time for the bet of the week. Playing the Magic twice and the Pelicans once this week. We're going back to our Brewer Predictions Challenge. Will the Bucks win over or under 2.5 games? So basically, will they sweep the week and win all 3?
Okay. I'm going to go, yeah. Why not?
I was going to say that as well. So, yes. Let's both
take the over. Let's do it.
I mean, the Magic just aren't a good team. There's no other way to put it. And then the Pelicans, that could be interesting, but and maybe they lose one to the Magic somehow. But I don't know. I think easy 3.
Yeah, Suggs is out still, and that just I don't know. And then they got some guys, who they like Wendell Carter Jr. now, and he's been playing pretty well. But like, I mean, talk about guys down low. I mean, if Giannis is playing, I really like the Bucks here. So I'm gonna go Bucks.
I agree. Bucks over 2.5 wins this week. As again, I'm 1-0 in the predictions, or the bets of the week, we should say. New segment here on the podcast. Drew is 0-1. And now let's move to a super-sized Christmas edition of trivia. 10 questions for the first time ever. 10 questions on trivia. It is all about the NBA on Christmas. So let's do it. We did the NFL on Thanksgiving and the NBA on Christmas. It goes back so much. We're doing 10 questions of it, all of them multiple choice. And now I have to say, this does not take into consideration yesterday's games. So those don't count. All right. There's like 1 or 2 where they might actually play a factor. Question 1. What year saw the first ever NBA Christmas game? Do you have a guess off the top of your head?
I do.
Okay.
So NBA has been going for 75 years. So do my math here. That would put it at, because it's NBA 75. So first year would have been, let's think, 46. And with that, I believe they started it in the second year. So I'm going to say 1947.
My goodness, absolutely nailed it. 1947. Didn't even have to give the options.
Nope,
They
don't need 'em.
got it right. That is unreal. So a beautiful 1 of 1 start. No complaints at all. Perfect. All right. Next question. Since the beginning, in 1947, I counted this one by hand, by the way. How many Christmas games have gone to overtime? Was it 19, 30, or 47?
Oh, okay. There's a lot of Christmas games.
There have been.
I mean, if you're thinking, I know they used to do like one a year, and they've kind of expanded to 5 to kind of milk it. I'm gonna go. I'll say 30. Let's go right in the middle.
It was actually 19. So that's why I
19.
wanted to throw the higher numbers in there to throw you off. But it was 19 Christmas games, and there was like 2 that went to double overtime. But otherwise, Christmas games, I guess they just aren't that close, not going to overtime. Next 2 questions are about points. All right. Michael Jordan, what was his high for points on Christmas? Was it 35, 42, or 49? I just separated them by 7.
I'll go 42. I'll go middle again.
It was 42. Good job to go in the middle. Now, what was Kobe Bryant's high for points on Christmas? 27, 35, or 42?
I'll say 42 again.
It was. This is good stuff. Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan both
Yeah.
have a high of 42 points on Christmas. Now, what is the highest number of points scored by a single player on Christmas? So a one-day Christmas high.
Is it Bernard
You know-
King?
It is.
He had 60, right? In the
Yes.
Garden. Yeah. Okay.
Wow. In 1984, Bernard King was 60. That is big. And now you would have been 4 of 5 if we would have stopped right here. But that's not what we're doing. We got 5 more questions. Next up, what is the most number of points a team has scored on Christmas? So a combined team effort. Is it 145, 162, or 171?
I'm gonna go. It was 145, 162, right? Or what was the?
Yep, 171 is the high.
Okay. I'm gonna say 145.
It's 162.
Oh,
So that is actually the high. The Syracuse Nationals scored 162 in 1960. So, I mean, pretty early on. And then the next closest was the Utah Stars, putting up 150 just about 10 years later. All right. Not too bad. We still got more. Now, we're going to talk about just as a total teams on Christmas. Which team has the most wins on Christmas Day? Is it the Lakers, the Knicks, or the Kings? I will tell you, those are the top 3 teams. You have to decode which is number 1.
most wins. Okay. Well, I don't know. You said this doesn't include yesterday. It probably doesn't matter if it included yesterday.
Yeah, it actually, this one does not matter.
So, I guess with that being said, I'm gonna go Lakers.
Yes, it is. The Lakers have the most with 24, and the Knicks are second with 22. Kings and Sixers both have 18. Good job there. And now we're going to flip it. Which team has the most losses on Christmas? Knicks, Lakers, or Pistons? We're going to throw the Pistons in the mix this time.
I'm gonna say, well, I mean, the Knicks have played the most. I'm gonna say Knicks.
Yes, it is. The Knicks.
Yeah.
And now I guess if I count yesterday, they won yesterday, right?
Yeah.
On Christmas? Okay, so they won, so this didn't matter, but they have 31 wins on, or losses, I should say. 31 losses on Christmas. Lakers have 23, and Pistons have 22. Next question. Name one of the 3 teams who have never won on Christmas.
Okay. I'm gonna say the Toronto Raptors.
Yes, that is one of them. They have played on Christmas. They are 0-2, but they have never won. The Hornets and Grizzlies have never played on Christmas.
That was
So this is great. You are just flying through 7-2 right now. And the final question,
Let's go.
you got to throw the Bucks in here. This season marked the blank consecutive appearance for the Bucks on Christmas. So how many consecutive have they been in?
Okay, I'm gonna do some thinking here.
Okay.
Christmas Day games. They played last year against the Knicks. They played 2 years ago against the 76ers, and then they played this year. That's 3. But I feel like they might have played even the year before. I don't get options for this one, do I?
3, 4, or 6 are your options.
3,
so
4, okay.
you already know 3 or 4, but is it 3 or is it 4?
I'm gonna go through. No, hold on. I'm gonna say
Oh.
Bucks this year, and they play. I'm gonna go 3.
It's 4.
They play
did play
Celtics
4.
again. They play Celtics first.
I think it was the Warriors, actually. I remember
I
seeing
missed
the Warriors in
it was
there.
Warriors last year, and then they played the Knicks the year before, and then the 76ers the year before.
Probably, because I remember
missed the
seeing the
Warrior game.
Warriors when I went over it. So that is not bad at all, though. You ended up going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 10. I have no complaints at all. That puts you at 20 out of 30 overall in trivia here in season 4. An absolutely super sized edition. Probably won't do it again anytime soon. However, I just thought it would be a ton of fun. 20 out of 30. Just a reminder for the fans at home, you were 30 of 50 in seasons 1 and 2. So that means you just need to get 10 out of the next 20 right to pass that. And you were 37 out of 50 in season 3. Lights out then. It'll be tough to catch that one, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Any other comments or thoughts or anything as we wrap up our Christmas edition?
That's all. That was a lot of fun, Jordan.
It was a big time episode, and we had a lot of stuff. And this week, our 3 days of Christmas giveaway. Stay tuned to our social media pages. Very, 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 very simple instructions. You could win yourself a Jordan Drew the Sports Crew hat absolutely free of charge. And just stay tuned to our social media, guys. JD Sports Pod on Twitter, Jordan Drew _ Sports Crew on Instagram, Jordan Drew the Sports Crew on YouTube and on Facebook. Other than that, shout yourself out, Drew, and we're getting out of here.
Hey, you know the drill. The social medias. Drew Skyberg, DRAWSKYBERG.
Last thing here, who is on the College Athlete Spotlight on Wednesday? I'm not sure if we already showed them out, but if we did, do it one more time.
NCAA Division I swimmer Parker Sonneman's coming on the show. It'll be a lot of fun. Men's swimmer. So
can't wait for that. And then Friday, Journey to a Million, episode 3. Next Monday, another podcast episode next Wednesday. Big East midseason recap with Sho Fukasawa of the Manitowoc Lutheran Lancers. We're crossing our fingers that one gets finalized. And obviously, Journey to a Million, episode 4, happening on January 7th. Thank you all for listening to another edition of Jordan and Drew, the Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.